Do it.
Hey, everybody. This is Pastor Megan, and we're having one of our first interviews for virtualgrace.net. And I am super excited because this is one of my favorite people in the entire world. We're going to try not to be too silly. I'm Pastor Megan. I have a doctorate in ministry from the Pacific School of Religion in Berkeley, and I do a lot of justice work, and I care about LGBTQ issues, and I care about people being able to develop their own personal faith life in their home or in church buildings, wherever they find it. So I'm glad you found this video. But today, we're going to learn about my friend. You got to introduce yourself, or you made it weird.
Hello, hi, I'm Gerry, ebalaoza-tunnel. I'm actually living in Seattle, Washington, but born and raised in Honolulu, Hawaii. And I'm actually I'm a doctoral student at the California Institute of Integral Studies. Had to throw that in, of course.
Yeah.
And I am actually, my dissertation is on how to recreate a space to engage in aloha. So perfect.
Right? Well, tell us what aloha is, both for people who have been to Hawaii before and people who have never been to Hawaii but have seen the movie about it.
Okay. Well, aloha has many different meanings. So the word aloha means love and compassion and grace and empathy. It's also an extension of greeting, hello, and goodbye. That is what aloha means. Now, through my dissertation and all of my research work, I've actually taken aloha and used the derivative of two words, alo meaning front and ha meaning breath. That when we share our stories or we engage in stories like we're doing right now, it's the exchange of information, the transference of knowledge is what I'm looking at as aloha. You should not be using it at one with the other, because it's not. So the aloha from my research is based in the foundation of the root of the real word, aloha, which is grace and empathy and compassion and all that stuff. So that's what aloha means.
And how do you practice aloha in the world, in like your day-to-day life?
In my day-to-day life, aloha, because it means love and compassion and empathy and all of those great words, to me, aloha is actually an action as well, too. So the way that I actually do that is if I'm in any kind of conversation with anyone where it could be triggering, I always go back to my heart, and I'm always asking questions on exactly why am I feeling this way. So that way I can stop the chatter in my head and I can really deeply listen to the other person. In our world right now, we are so divided by so many things, with race and with religion and with politics, that when we come together and there is someone that has opposing point of view, we always want to just prove our point. That's not sharing aloha when you want to force your information onto someone. I think when we're able to engage in aloha, the dialogue part of it that I talk about in exchanging this knowledge, we breathe these words to each other. So that's how I practice it. I'm always going back to my heart when I feel challenged, so that way I can actually listen deeply.
I like that. And it's good timing for Valentine's Day to think about how to love people in a new way, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's what it's about. That's aloha. That is the kind of aloha that I share, the kind of aloha that I talk about, is being able to love without any boundaries, to just be able to love unconditionally, which is hard because we put conditions on everything.
Yeah. So if people want to develop a practice where they would try to live in the world with more aloha, what are some things that they could do?
Well, so I kind of broke it down acronymically. So I took aloha, and what they can do is ask. The first is ask and inquire. The L is to listen with the intention to understand and not judge. The O is to observe what's happening in your body. So the somatics of it, if you're feeling triggered, always go back to the H, your heart, because your heart is the one that's going to guide you. And then the final part is the acceptance and adaptability of difference. And so that's how people can practice it, is like look at aloha as a way to engage with one another more deeply, more compassionately.
And how do people, what does it look like to actually accept someone else and their difference?
When you're able to sit in a room or you're able to engage in conversation that's actually going to advance justice and peace for everyone, is that's how it's going to look. I think when we come together and if we're going to argue about certain things or we don't like certain things, it's okay. We're not going to agree with everything with what one person says, but we can adapt to what we're feeling and being able to accept the fact that, even though this person is different, that's their way of living. We live in a world of multiple ways of understanding. And every time when we try to force someone to think the way we are, then we're actually denying their experiences as well too, and what they're learning. So I want to share with you. I don't know if I ever shared this story with you, but my mom, she's been gone for about 6 years now. But when she first came to Seattle, she was probably like at around, she was 65, 66 years old. And I pick her up on an early morning in June in Seattle, and I'm walking her through the parking lot, and she looks at me and she was like, Seattle is so wasteful. And I'm like, wasteful? Why? And she goes, well, why do they have the electricity on in the parking lot? And I was like, it's not there. There's no air conditioning on, Mom. It's like, what are you talking about? So she thought that they were wasting a lot of electricity because she felt cold in the parking lot. And then I looked at my mom and I realized that here she is at 65, 66 years old, and she never felt on her skin what it was like to be in anything less than 65-degree weather.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that point, I kind of like had to check myself, because at first I was like, oh, my mom, is this something I should be worrying about? But that's where she came from. And it had me checking myself and my assumptions on how another person experiences the world. And I just thought that it was so beautiful. But if I just stopped myself on the assumption that my mom was like, having some mental breakdown, or she was like, on the verge of, Alzheimer's or something, I would have treated her differently. I would have treated her differently if I stopped at that assumption. And so I think when we engage in aloha and we're able to listen deeply and be able to actually ask to learn and to understand another person, another human being, then I think we were able to love beyond the boundaries that we place on ourselves.
I love
I get
that.
so excited about talking about this stuff.
That's why you're the best person to talk to, is because you
just love it.
embody aloha, you live aloha, you breathe aloha, all your ancestors drum aloha behind you, right? And
Yes.
so I love your passion for this, but I wonder, as someone who cares about aloha as much as you do, it's really easy because I could go to anywhere in Hawaii right now. I could buy everything with aloha on it. I can, where is the line of when it's good for me, someone who's not Hawaiian? Where is it healthy for me to practice things that are not from my culture? And then where is the line where I shouldn't claim it on for myself? Like, is there a place where it's...
Yes, and I don't know where to actually draw that line. And sometimes I can find myself a little challenged by that as well, because in one part I talk about aloha without any boundaries. And it's like, what I do see a lot of tourists, they would be like, oh yeah, let's live aloha. But they don't really understand what aloha means. I find that there's a lot of individuals who will go to Hawaii and they'll pick up the Hawaiian aloha shirt, is what they call it. Look, I have my aloha shirt on. I'm living aloha, because they feel that it is something that they can wear, something that they can own. But aloha is an action. It is something that you give. It is something that you show. It is something that um, you do every single day, even when you're feeling really upset and someone cuts you off and you just want to like.
My aloha game was real down today. Raining in San Francisco and people just don't
Right.
have a hard time.
Yep, exactly. I mean, and that's where the grace part comes in too, right? Is that we are all challenged. We're challenged every single day, 3 to 30 times a day. We're challenged, whether it's our kids, our bosses, our neighbors, whatever it is. But as long as you don't come from a place where you turn that anger or frustration into hate, then you can give yourself enough grace to be like, ooh, yeah, my aloha didn't have it today.
Right? Well, and people probably can like, if aloha is about like getting your heart right and then actively like acting in the world, but not too quickly, not till after you've like listened and
Yes.
taken it
Yep.
in.
Yep.
If aloha is about getting your heart right, then you could call that any name, or a name
Right.
that doesn't trigger other people because it's a part of their like specific culture.
Exactly, exactly. Because I think there's a lot of different cultures that can talk about aloha in their own way. I mean, we also have this energy that it we share this energy with each other. When we share this love with each other, there is this energy that is interchanged between one human being and another.
Mhm.
And we can feel that, if we walk into a room and the room is like really tense, we know that.
Mhm.
If we go up and we see a friend and there's something going on, without them even saying anything, we can feel that.
Mhm.
That's what we can feel. When we're with and connected with our hearts, we can feel this energy, and whether how it feels, good or bad or indifferent, whatever it is, we can feel it. That energy is called mana in Hawaii.
Mhm.
It's also called prana or chi or ki or the great spirit. However it is. With aloha, I'm sure that with every culture, there is something that talks about this unconditional kind of love.
Mhm.
And for people from Hawaii, that is how we live. That is who we are. That is our entire being. At least for me, that's how I live. That is my being. But if someone else is going to try to claim aloha because they've been to Hawaii without understanding their own roots and their own culture, then I feel that that's where you draw the line and say, you know what, don't take my culture, don't take who I am and what we live from and of. Find your own way.
Right.
Find
Right.
your own thing. Yes.
Mine's right there.
Yeah. Let me see it. What is it?
This is Bruder Klaus. This is my 14th great grandfather, and he was the patron saint of Switzerland. And he was a hermit. He didn't so much like living with other people, but he was into trying to like cultivate his heart so that he could like love God. And so not everybody's got like a saint in their ancestry, but there are ways that you can trace your roots and find the way that loving kindness, as Buddhists call it, and aloha, as you do in your work and your
Yes.
cultivation,
Yes.
um, and shalom, as it is in kind of Jewish traditions. And so I think that's really great, like encouraging people to research their own roots and find their way of expressing it, but participating in this same kind of vibe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, yeah, I'm sure every culture has a way to extend and to be aloha, and find it. I would say find it.
And
Yeah.
you do work helping people kind of cultivate their heart. And how can people get in touch with you if they want to like interact with you more or learn more about what you're up to?
Well, I have a consulting firm. It's called Co3 Consulting, CO3, the
Mhm.
number three consulting, which stands for Co-creating Cohesive Communities.
Yeah.
And so they can go onto co3consulting.net or email me at Gerry, Gerry, at co3consulting.net.
And you do like fancy conferences and you help people cultivate their
I
heart.
do. I
You do
do.
you do also like some work helping people like untangle the implicit biases they have and learning about how to tread a little lighter.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of the work that I do is around diversity, equity, and inclusion work. And the way that I do it is I overlay everything that I do with Aloha, because when you talk about anything around diversity, equity, and inclusion for people of European descent, they have this tendency to put up a wall and be like, I don't want to hear about this, especially coming from a woman of color.
Sure.
They're, I mean, it can be threatening. And a lot of the work that I've seen and I've been around DEI is about blaming and shaming another person for who they are. So if you're a person of European descent, then it's like your ancestors, you know, colonized and took over lands and they did all of these things. And it's like, yes, I'm not denying that those things happened. But what we need to do is we need to be able to engage in this kind of aloha and this kind of dialogue so that way we don't repeat ourselves.
Mhm.
And this way we can move towards healing ourselves and healing the next generation and generation after that.
Yeah.
So that's how I approach a lot of my DEI work. And yeah, I work with organizations. I've been working with community and technical colleges and the universities and everything like that. And I've been pretty much doing a lot of work here in the Seattle area, but I'm always able to travel wherever the work needs me. I definitely want to be there.
That's awesome. Thank you for your time. You're the best.
Thank you.
I'm going to end the recording now. Bye, everyone.
Bye.